I'm an advocate of what parent advisory was, and so back in the day, in the 90s, if you swore, it was a big deal. Nowadays, I guess I say on the radio, I've heard broadcasts that you're allowed to swear and use profanity and be dirty if you're on the left. And what this might mean is actually what my first saying is I believe in parent advisory and is huge because in the 90s you were able to swear, but now you can't. That's what Juice WRLD does. He knows when to add in a chorus and repeat stuff. And I thought repeating was something like of the West, and then techno would be like a European thing that is like in Japan and China, where they did probably rock the best because the band Lin is Chinese, and then all the rest of the Japanese visual kei are better than average USA. Well, some interesting features that Hyde has gone to Chicago, and then he joined a band called the Last Rock Stars with X Japan. And this guy Yoshiki, he's constantly popping up in Las Vegas, and everyone knows about him when he comes to USA. And this guy Yoshiki, his guy Hyde, he died. I'm the guitar player in his band because he had like this neck thing he was using on a door, and it said that he like, we don't know if it was suicide because he died from suffocation of his neck, hanging from a strap on the door because he was trying to relieve pain from his neck. This is what happened. Was it drug induced? We don't know. Rita from the Gazette, he passed out. Didn't wake up. If you pass out and don't wake up, does that mean that someone killed you? You died? What is this? We don't know. But for all intentional purposes, with parental advisory, that's what Juice WRLD does. He freestyles and he knows when to bring the chorus back. He knows when to change the song. So your verse can virtually be as long as you want, and it can be as intricate as you want. Kanye West is really good at rhyming words that don't rhyme, and that was really catchy. Or they shouldn't rhyme, and he made them, actually. So a verse can be any one of these things, and then it's just repeating yourself too. It's remembering and freestyle when you're doing improv because there's no takes. This is all one take. To remember to bring back your chorus. My main point was parental advisory. And then like these kids are eating Tide Pods and you don't know if they're actually doing like a different kind of thing inside the Tide Pod because that cloth can mean anything, especially if it looks like a Zen. And then the moment you start letting kids look like they're doing chew even though that they're not, is when a Tide Pod is equivalent to anything. And kids were eating these and it was funny, and the left was broadcasting this. However, it is broadcasted on mainstream or not, or underground. There's 3 layers. But on all those layers, there's platforms, and you have a left platform, and they're able to make fun of kids eating Tide Pods. But even in South Park, they're the divide, and they actually said that it was funny. And so when you've got a platform like South Park, they're neither right or left, but they're just funny, so they're allowed to do stuff that most wouldn't, like make fun of Tide Pods if you're the right, because then it would look really bad. There's a guy, Seth Green, and he was in movie theaters and he was putting on Through. So you might know what an additive is. It's an addition to, but the opposite of an additive would be superlative. No, it would be an additive's opposite is not a sedative, but we're going to go with that anyways. A sedative equivalent to an additive, they're opposite, but they're doing the same stance. So a sedative, I don't know what it is, but if I was going to make a guess, is an offset of an additive. And when you're talking about that, I would be thinking that these things would not mix. A blueberry slushy with a coffee bean. In any case, if you have caffeine and it's at $1.49 is the cheapest drink, how do you take out the caffeine from that drink and make it cheaper. If you could and you owned a business, that would be like a sedative, would take it out. So if you would have the option to have a certain amount of chemicals inside a drink before the caffeine was added, and all it took was a sedative to make it of lesser value. So it would be not $1.69. It would be at $1 if you chose this option. I would choose that option every time because I don't want to pay any more than $1 for caffeine. Here's the thing with your age difference if you have kids drinking caffeine, and they were doing the sedative option. Now you're thinking of like a whole different ballgame because it is dangerous. Sedatives are not a thing that should be marketplaced for having the price lowered because with knowing when chemicals change, it isn't actually accomplished yet. That's why sedatives are looked at as don't think about them and they're not to be put into market. Because you're going to end up with caffeine being processed with a sedative and it being cheaper and people using caffeine that shouldn't like. Look at how this is marketed coffee with a slushy. That's I've been told that some places, if I'm inside that, you can't film in here. That situation, if it ever occurred, I'd probably understand and maybe agree what that means. Straight to the lot. But no, there's public library. I've had them print off a poster. This post is hard because it's pushing a hard push. If you consume all three. And this one has coffee, supposedly. That's equivalent to what a Tide Pod is mixed with anything else, but we'll get to that in a minute. I had an EA having to print out at the public library a giant printer of this E8 shape. And so it wasn't really centered or anything. Right next to the old library. But it was like, you can't show blood on YouTube. This like one bit of coffee, it looks like this should have been the center of the picture. It's so overpowering. With other space, it's the same as the E8. I had like one picture of E8, and it was this giant poster board that I printed out. It was for free at the library. The only part that I kept was the E8 shape, and it was in the bottom corner, just like this tiny bit that you wouldn't really look at. Like, oh, it doesn't have coffee in it. And I saw that E8 in the parking lot. I learned over there the other day in the parking lot that E8 is also a position of a ranking officer in the Army, and it's higher than other things that we would think. But I didn't know that they were going to cross the name of E8, because that in the science community is geometry, and the most strongest shape that there can be with symmetry is E8. But then they just said in the Army that's what they're calling the label of a high-ranking officer. My lip is probably really bad. Shoot. Yeah, I don't know. You can't put a band-aid on your lip because the moment that your lip gets wet from the blood or something else, the band-aid on your lip is going to have that adhesive really quickly. So what would ruin it worse? Wax melted and then or the batter melted if you're going to clean it with the cotton swab after the cotton swab will stick for the batter instead of the wax every time. And my lip is really gushing out, so I don't know how you're going to put a band-aid on something in that place. So this wasn't even recording. I saw it wasn't even recording when I just put on these eye drops, and it's like if you let kids do this because they think it's funny, it's the same as this outward appearance of objects. Like if you put on a kid eating a Tide Pod on a left-leaning platform, it's underground, mainstream, but when it gets broadcasted in one of these things, it's just like parental advisory. If in the 90s, they didn't want kids swearing, but now the left gets to swear if they're on their platform. But in what has it broadcasted in the mainstream, underground, all three. South Park is all three mainstream and underground because they're able to do stuff that mainstream can't, which is talk about other stuff. See, they in like rap, they would rap and make fun of other people. In South Park, they make fun of other people without rap. They do it on a like play performance, but it's cartoon. So does Dragon Slayer. So on this platform of cartoon, like usually classically kids would watch cartoons. That's why when I see something that's cartoonesque, it's usually relating immediately to kids because that's built up in my head growing up in the 90s with Looney Tunes and parental advisory. So when you say something and it is like a slang word or it's a swear word, you can't really say something and broadcasting it if it's a swear word if you're trying to do family friendly, but the left does because they're allowed to on any platform, any broadcasting type of way, mainstream or underground. But this guy, he did an underground show and they allowed it at once. His name was Seth Green with Robot Chicken. As a kid, I saw him put in eye drops and walk into a room, and I thought that was funny, so I used to do that and pretend I was him. So if you have these kids doing stuff that are actually bad, putting in eye drops, like, and coming in through a window into a building, you should never do that. But if as a kid you think it's funny and you do that, you're gonna see stuff kind of like Tide Pods if kids eat them and it's broadcasted as funny. Whenever I'm done with this cup, I slam it onto my handlebar inside because it's easier to steer with it on there than opposed to holding in your hand lopsided like this. But in any case, if you have kids making Tide Pods and eating them funny and it's broadcasted and other kids start doing that on the left, because if the right did it, they wouldn't, because it would look dangerous and it would be an easy way to prosecute. But when you do things that are personal phenomenon or interact with objects like Tide Pods, and personal phenomenon is personal identity politics, it's really easy to make a case on things that are blatantly obvious because they're cartoonesque. For the logic too, when you associate logic, I call it Freudian slips that are material. They're really easy with objects that are like this, like Tide Pods, or if you put inside your mouth like a thing that's a Zen, and kids are doing this, what if they do it and it's the new candy? See, South Park were having kids vape, and they showed right away that the preschoolers were vaping, and the South Park kids are like above preschool, and they were not doing vaping. But if you promote it like this to kids and they start doing it, then it's really bad if they put in Zens in their mouth and it's actually just this coconut paper, or and it's a lozenge too. It would qualify as that, these coconut papers that are different. Alright, I thought this was dead. I blew on it. It got up and started to move. And you don't know if it just woke up or if it's injured or if it is going through a psychosis. So when you use objects and look at them and then you're judging them, that's like the other place where it's you don't know this ant is too small to tell what category of those three it just happened, but it is not something, because when it's dead, it's lighter. Because bugs, they like when they die, they turn into like a piece of chitin. That's equal to a human body that's like bigger, getting debombed. But if they're not debombed, that's the difference between insects and humans. When they're past insects, they dry up as if they had a coroner debomb them. And so their exoskeleton is really light, so it's blowing on it, but then it just broke up and started moving. Because I thought it was going to blow away, because I thought it was SOL. But he is not. At my head, he's going back direction opposite where he woke up from. And that's a beeline. Right. That sounds like the way to say that. It's actually $1.49. All right, let's try beating it down. All right, so the coffee, was it $1 in the past?
Not 100% sure.
You don't even know. All right, so you get one coffee is $1.49.
What size did you want?
But wait 1 second. Are there free refills after you buy one?
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so I'll take one of the. And how do you get your refills?
You just walk up and I can refill for you.
And you'll do it. Let's do one coffee.
What size?
Large.
Anything else?
Yeah, let's do the. Can you put in creamer?
How much creamer?
Let's go with the heavy creamer. Or do you? What kinds of different?
We just have one type, but how many like pumps did you want?
Oh, you're right. Can I have 4?
Yep. Anything else?
Well, yeah, Splenda.
How many Splenda?
Let's go 2.
Anything else?
Yep. Do you have any whipped cream?
Yep.
Excellent. I'll take that on the side.
Okay. Anything else?